Hi, Matt with the etrailer. If you plan on transporting heavy machinery from point A to point B, you're going to need a good way to tighten everything down into place to safely drive with it. And a great way to do that is going to be with Durabilt's ratcheting chain binders. So let's check them out. Now, the specific binder we have today is going to be rated for 7,100 pounds. And it's going to be able to work with chains sizes 5/16 to 3/8. And this is going to be more ideal if you're carrying any agriculture equipment or any construction equipment that are going to meet those limits. Now, if those specs don't work out for you, we do have a lot of other variations of these that can work with different styles of chains, different loads, and they're going to operate different just depending on the one that you're looking for. When it comes to chain binders, there's going to be two main types. You're going to have the ratcheting version that we have now, and then you're going to have the lever version. And there's some pros and cons to both. So with the lever version of a chain binder, the main pro is just how fast you can secure your load. Because with a ratcheting one, I have one right next to me, this is going to be something that's going to take a little bit more time. You just have to slowly ratchet it down into place. Now, with the lever style, you're just pushing or pulling that until it's secured down. But some of the cons from that though is if you don't have it tight enough, then you're going to have to reattach it to your chains, and you're going to have to pull your chains pretty tight. It'd be kind of difficult sometimes. And then the second option is if you do have it tight enough, it can be pretty difficult to tighten into place, or if you're not careful, if that comes right back at you and you're in your way, then you could get hurt. So this is just going to be the easier overall, and it's going to be the safer option between the two types of binders. Now to take a closer look at how these binders are going to operate and some of the smaller features with them, I'm going to take this off real quick and show you how we did it. Now when you first have this binder, you notice this is what it's going to look like in its more compact position, and you can extend this out pretty far. And to show you what I mean, when I lay this down next to one that has been fully extended out, there's quite a bit of a jump between each one. So in the more compact position, that's going to be sitting at just around 13 inches or so. And if we go up to the larger size, when it's fully extended, that's going to get all the way up to 20 inches. So that's a pretty big jump. In most cases, you shouldn't need to make a jump like that. And that's okay if you overextend this out. You can simply just turn these in to re-tighten everything. Or you can just make sure you have this in the tightening position and bring it in some. And what you want to start off with is just with your clevis hook. And what's nice about this is if you ever forget what chain this is going to work with, this is here right on the side where it says 3/8. And if I flip it around, you'll see this is 5/16 to 3/8. So that's just a good reminder. And these feel pretty good so far. They don't feel like there's too many burrs on them. But again, I always like to wear gloves when I'm doing this. And I'm just going to try to get this on a random link over here. Typically, I like to avoid the welds just because it makes it a little bit easier to put on, and just in case you don't put any extra strain on those welds. Let's reach across over here, connect that other side. You're feeling a point that's pretty good. Right here would do. There you go. And from here, it's pretty easy to use this. Now, if you get mixed up, if this is in the tighten or loosen position, just start using it and see what happens. That's how I find out a lot of times. Right now, I know it's in the tighten position. So if you were in the loosen position, all you have to do is press down on this paw, and it's going to grip onto this gear in the center, right next to your barrel. And then you'll notice this is going to start loosening up some. But of course, I want this to get tight on here, so all I have to do from this point is just turn it. And that's one of the big advantages to this style, because you saw it didn't take too long to really hook this all up, and this feels pretty smooth for the most part. We're going to start finding a lot more resistances later on when it's getting harder to turn. So usually around this point, you'll notice a difference right here. You can tell these chains are pretty tight, but we still got a little bit to go. There we go. Hit it again, and then you eventually just tighten it enough until it feels really secure on here. And of course, when you're done getting everything nice and tight, just make sure you leave this handle towards the inside of your trailer. Now, if you're not a big fan of working with those handles or putting them into a certain location, Durabilt has a different version of this, one without a handle. And that's great because you just have to deal with this center part here. It's just a detachable handle. They really show you how long this handle is. If we go from the end to the base or the beginning of that barrel, that's going to be about 13 inches. So it's just really going to depend on whether you're a fan of the handle being there full time or not. And talking about that handle, if we look at the very end of it, you're going to notice we have a hole right here. What that hole's actually there for is just so you can lock this up so no one can come by and mess with your load at all. And now we can take a closer look at the construction. So like I said earlier, this feels pretty good. And this is actually going to have a zinc plating, and it's going to be forged steel. And really maneuvering it, I don't have any burrs catching on, and it feels smooth for the most part when I take it out of the barrel. I'm not catching on anything, so that's good to know because you don't want this to catch on anything because it can really impede how you secure your loads. And then when we look at the barrel and the handle, this has this pretty thick powder coat to it, and that powder coat's doing a few things for us. So the first thing it's really doing is helping this be more rust resistant, since it is going to be in all different types of weather conditions. You want something that's going to last a long time, and it's going to be very visible too. With this red, helps it just kind of let you know if you load or if anything's happened to your binders. Now I will say I was a little bit worried to see if this really thick powder coat was impeding the use of the binder, but this Paul's still catching on there pretty well. I'm not having any issues with that, so overall it moves pretty smooth. Now at the end of the day, this is going to be more of a standard ratcheting chain binder. It's also important to note that you just need to make sure that this is going to meet the specs of whatever you're hauling. Along with that, your chains as well, because I always recommend going from your lowest rated component. Because just because if you have a higher rated chain binder, that is not going to up the weight capacity of your whole load. So just make sure if your chains are rated lower, that you're going from that spec instead. And if that isn't going to meet specs, then we have plenty of options on our website. Not only is this a Durabilt chain binder, but we also got some of the Durabilt chains too. So if you need new chains and new binders, we have plenty of options and varieties on our website. But that was just a look at the Durabilt Ratcheting Chain Binder for loads up to 7,100 pounds. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.